Could you say your name to the camera?
Hi Matthew.
Hi.
Hi camera. My name is Joe Cherwink and I'm a band director for Tompkins High School.
Okay, and we're gonna ask you some questions about kinetic and potential energy.
Alright?
So, question number 1. Do you know what kinetic energy is?
Yes.
Can you explain what it is?
Kinetic energy is when an object transfers its energy or motion into an adjacent object after they hit. Or it's a transference of energy from one object to another.
Okay, and do you know the formula for kinetic energy?
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay, so the kinetic energy of a moving object is 1/2 of the product of its mass multiplied by the square of its velocity. Do you know what makes kinetic energy kinetic energy?
Hmm?
Like, do you know like what makes kinetic energy kinetic and like the difference between kinetic and potential?
Why don't you refresh me?
Kinetic energy is energy due to motion. The kinetic energy increases as the square of the speed increases. Now potential energy. Okay, so do you know what the formula for gravitational potential energy is?
I do not remember.
Okay, so the change in gravitational potential energy of an object is its mass multiplied by g and the changing height.
Alright.
Do you know what gravitational potential energy is?
Why don't you refresh my memory?
An object obtains gravitational potential energy by doing work against gravity because gravity is
Right.
constantly trying to pull it down. So if you have like a bottle up here, it's still being pulled down, so it has potential energy to fall.
But it's being held
It's
by the
being
work
held.
being done by your own.
Yeah. If the height of the container increases, what will its potential energy do? Will it increase or decrease?
Are you talking about
Like the height and weight of this container, if it were to get bigger and like have more mass, would it?
get bigger and have more mass?
Yeah. Would it? What would the potential energy do? Would it decrease or increase?
Depends on if the object is in a vacuum or not.
We wrote down it will increase, but yeah, that's right too, because I remember him telling us that. Okay, that's it.
My name is Ariana Lede. I'm Shekinah Liz. Shekinah Weekly.
Okay, so we're gonna teach you about the difference between kinetic and potential energy. Do you know what the difference between kinetic and potential energy is?
Yeah, girl, I know the instant. Oh man, yeah. Potential energy is energy that basically, it's in the name. It's energy that's potential, like it's stored up energy. It's stored up energy. It has potential, and then kinetic is kind of like
It's moving.
yeah.
All potential is staying in one spot.
Do you know the formula for the kinetic energy of a moving object?
I know it. It's right there.
It is the kinetic energy of a moving object is 1/2 of the product of its mass multiplied by the square of its velocity.
1/2m
Hold on.
times v
Oh, wait, I
squared.
gotta put this into like letters in my head because I didn't write it.
1/2m times v
One
squared.
Hard.
Okay, so its mass is multiplied by the square of its velocity, so mass times velocity squared, and then 1/2 of that. Oh, do you know what kinetic energy is?
Like I said, energy that's moving. It's,
Yeah,
it
so-
acts
Like a
as
ball
energy.
rolling down a hill.
Kinetic energy is energy due to motion.
This is kinetic energy.
This is
Start
kinetic
recording.
energy.
So where does kinetic energy come from?
Beyonce.
Gravity.
Beyonce.
Am I right?
Kinetic energy comes from work.
Okay.
The change in gravitational potential energy is
What?
Say that again?
formula. What is gravitational potential energy?
It's like energy that's not moving.
It's like
it's
gravity.
It's
It's like I'm holding this up right here. This has gravitational potential energy. Now that was kinetic energy.
Wow.
By the science guy. Bill, Bill, Bill.
Okay, so to start, kinetic energy is energy due to motion. So anything that is moving has kinetic energy. Kinetic energy comes from work. So when work is done, kinetic energy
energy is kinetic. It is moving. For example, I am pushing this roll of tape, so the energy is kinetic. It has kinetic energy. Third, kinetic energy is proportionate to the square of the velocity. So if something is going 3 meters per second, then kinetic energy is proportionate to 3 squared. 4. The kinetic energy of a moving object is 1/2 of the product of its mass multiplied by the square of its velocity. So if something is 3 grams and is going 3 meters per second, it would be 3 times 3 squared and then 1/2 of what you get from there. 5. Kinetic energy can never be more than the amount of potential energy it has, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. 6. An object obtains a gravitational potential energy when work is done against gravity. For example, I'm holding this piece of tape up, so it has gravitational potential energy because it has the potential to become a kinetic energy when it falls because of gravity. 7. When work is done, stored energy turns into kinetic energy. 8. If the mass of something increases, then its potential energy will also increase. For example, because if the mass of this increased, then that would increase the amount of mass in the equation, which would obviously increase the product and the outcome of that equation, so there'd be more potential energy. 9. If the height of something increases, then its potential energy will also increase. So if I move this up here, it has more potential energy than it would have down here. 10. The equation for gravitational potential energy is its mass times g times height. We hope this video helped you understand a little bit more about kinetic and potential energy. Bye!